Castro, and we're back for chapter 3 of my book, Flowerantha.
And Cece is here today.
Yes, you know my daughter Bibi, and now my youngest daughter Cece is joining us.
Yeah, we like to rhyme.
All right, who do we have for our special guest today?
Today we have Rainbow, and the reason we do have Rainbow is because they're in the land of the mermaids.
Yes, this chapter takes place mostly underwater. So let's see what happens. The first thing Mash did the next morning was make the trek back to the lake to speak with Nautica. As he approached the lake, Nautica bobbed at the surface. When she saw him, she swam to shore and pulled herself all the way up onto the grass and flowers. He lowered himself onto a rock and dropped his legs into the water. I was thinking that last night. You were right, she interrupted. What? There are visitors in Flowerantha, 2 young girls. Her full green upper lip curled in disgust. He jumped to his feet, sending a stream of water in Nautica's direction as his feet broke the surface. I knew it! I knew it! The purple flowers! The monster knights! I can't believe there have been more than one visitor in our lifetime. I have to meet them. Do you know anything else? What do the king and queen think about it? Mash, stop. She put her fingers to her temple like she was concentrating on something. What's wrong? Her pale skin lost the green tinge and became even paler. Sit down, here. What? What is it? Sit, please. Mash scrunched up his face, but did as he was told. He kneeled with one knee in the ground next to Nautica, leaving the other foot planted and at the ready. I am in your father's head right now. She paused, and her blue eyes, which were darker with apprehension, stared into Mash's confused but still soft and inviting gray ones. A monster knight is near your house, flying over it right now, but it seems to be slowing down. Without a second's delay, Mash pushed off with his foot and stood. I have to go back. No! She grabbed him by the legs so that Mash fell down. He struggled, but she pulled him into the water. Mer people were stronger than landwalkers, and in the water, landwalkers didn't stand a chance. Mash tried to break free of Nautica's arms, which were wrapped around his chest. Mash, listen, just let me think. He relented for a moment. Tell me they're safe. I'm trying, hold still. I promise I won't run, just put me back. No, I do not trust you, just hold still. She touched her temple again with one finger. The monster knight is not stopping. They are safe. How can you know that? You can't read monster knights' minds. There is a rider. I have never heard of a monster knight being ridden, but there is a rider on this one. He is looking for the visitors. He does not care about your parents, but he is considering destroying them just in case. Mash tensed up, and Nautica tightened her grip. But he is leaving. Mash relaxed, but Nautica remained tense. Mash cleared his throat. Nautica, you can let go now. I think you should stay here for a while, until we know for sure it is safe. If you're keeping me here, then I want to talk to Olivia and see if she knows anything about the visitors. Fine. Let me find you a sparkle sphere and we will go talk to her. Nautica splashed around and peered into the water, but she couldn't locate any spheres nearby. She threw up her hands and said, I wish for a sparkle sphere. Don't waste those, you only have 3, said Mash. Only 3 good ones as I hear it. You are lucky that was not my 4th wish. I could have gotten you a sphere with a leak in it. Mash ran his hand over the sphere to find the puckered area that expanded into an opening big enough for him to crawl into. He stopped halfway with only his torso in the sphere. It wasn't your 4th, was it? Nautica laughed but didn't answer. She held the seam of the sparkle sphere and pushed Mash the rest of the way in by his feet. There were a few means of transportation for landwalkers of Flowerantha to visit the sea dwellers underwater. Sparkle spheres were the most convenient. One could find a sparkle sphere floating around in a shallow part of a calm lake. The sparkle spheres were oblong, glittering, person-sized bubbles, but they were unable to be popped. Although they were the easiest form of underwater travel to come by, they had their drawbacks. Sparkle spheres were only ideal for short journeys unless the passenger could find a place to refill the air. They were also hard to steer. Sometimes mer people would help by pushing the bubble along. Otherwise, it could take the passenger a lot longer to get where they were going. But with a mermaid guide, there was no easier way to get around. The 2 sank for a while as fish flitted by, their scales shining in the darkness. The sparkle sphere bumped into the top of an enormous glass structure. The palace resembled a crystal hive that acted as a prism and emitted rainbow-colored lights, with dozens of openings on every side and on top. A deep field of coral surrounded the hive like a moat. Mermaids came and went through the openings, nodding to Nautica as she pushed the sphere through one of the openings. Here are Olivia's quarters. Nautica grasped the puckered part of the sphere to slow it down, outside of a room with frosted crystal walls. Nautica knocked on the door and threw Mash a skeptical glance with a brow ridge arched. "Who is it?" Olivia's voice boomed, even more so underwater than on land. Nautica poked her teal head through the doorway. "Olivia, pardon me, shall I come back later?" "No," said Mash. He motioned for her to go in. Olivia craned her neck to look around Nautica. "Who's with you?" "We need to tell you something important," or Mash does. Nautica stepped away from the door and pushed the sparkle sphere into Olivia's view. "Hello, Mash." Olivia nodded to him. "Hello, madam." "Olivia, your highness, it's a pleasure." Mash bowed his head in return. "You may call me Olivia. I'm not royalty." "Thank you, Olivia. I was hoping I could—" "Wait." Olivia held up her hand. "It will be easier if you do not speak." Her eyes bored into Mash's, and she waited to absorb his thoughts. Mash obeyed and stared back, his lip twitching as he concentrated. "You would like to help with the visitors." "Yes, more than anything." Olivia squinted her eyes and pursed her lips, but then her face softened. "And you are wondering why the Monster Knights were by your home. Your family is safe. I will tell you what the Monster Knights are planning, because if I do not tell you, I know that Nautica will read my mind and tell you later anyway." Nautica averted her eyes. "What do they want?" asked Mash. "You have heard that Shrewt Knight's castle is under construction, and that the Monster Knights were looking for russet workers and forcing them to make the castle livable for Monster Knights. That was the work of only a few Monster Knights, led by Shrewt Knight's right-hand beast, Scorso. But that is not the reason the Monster Knights flew by your home. Is it because of the visitors? The Monster Knights have sensed the visitors, and they are rallying again. But they do not know what the visitors look like, which is how we would like to keep it. We do not know what the Monster Knights would do if they caught them, and we would like to keep those girls safe." Nautica made a disgusted sound. "And Nautica's reaction is why I chose not to tell anyone. After Shrewt Knight, most Floweranthans are going to have disgust for any new visitors. These, however, are not a threat. I have a young soldier in training on a quest right now to return them home as quickly as possible, before anyone notices they are here. He left earlier today." Mash trembled with excitement, and the sparkle sphere vibrated around him. "I can help. I need to help." "I know, but I have already told you too much. I will speak to the king and queen, and if they agree, you may help too." Mash bounced in the sphere. "I can do it! Can we meet with them now?" Olivia's lips pursed together and turned up at the corners. "Yes, I suppose it would do for them to meet you. Then, with their consent, you can leave tomorrow at first light. I have a place you can stay for tonight." Olivia held out her hand to gesture for them to leave her alcove. Once in the hall, she kicked her legs to propel herself past them. The gills that had been covered by her silvery hair puffed out as she breathed under the water. Her muscular arms and large webbed hands and feet propelled her through the water. She wore nothing, but her scaly skin looked more like a wetsuit than bare skin. Nautica followed, pushing Mash's sparkle sphere ahead of her. Mash turned his head and peeked at her with a wide grin, finding Nautica's face creased into a frown. "I could get used to this service." Nautica slapped the sphere, and Mash leaned back as much as he could in the tight space to put his hands behind his head. When the three entered the throne room, Olivia halted and bowed. "Your Majesties." Nautica floated beside the sparkle sphere and mimicked Olivia's movement, while Mash sat up at attention and crossed his legs. A flurry of activity revolved around the two majestic-looking merpeople at the center of a great room. The king and queen sat on gilded thrones. The queen's long golden hair, secured by a crystal crown, swirled around her pale pink skin. The king had a full golden beard to match his thick hair. Their tails shone gold or green, depending on how the light reflected on them. The king, queen, and Olivia stared at each other for a moment, communicating without words before the queen spoke. "Hello, Olivia. More business to attend to?" Queen Mermaida's voice flowed like a lazy river. With the queen's smooth, delicate skin, she did not look much older than Olivia, although she was old enough to be her mother. 2 more citizens are now aware of the female visitors. They wish to help the young soldier recruit find the passageway back to the Amaranth. No one else was to know. The vibrato of King Mermano's bass shook the room. Can these 2 be trusted? Mash bobbed his head, but waited for the king's attention to be directed towards him to speak. Yes, your majesty. I believe I am perfectly fit for the task. He followed up his bold remark by averting his eyes and laying a hand over his heart. Olivia kicked her legs so that she stood between the sphere and the king, probably to discourage Mash from speaking out of turn again. He considers himself an Amaranth expert, and the mermaid, Nautica, is his best friend. They will protect each other if need be, and I will accompany them along the way. The young recruit, Bushral, and I can train them in self-defense. Bushral's father was highly skilled. The queen looked skeptical but concerned. The king was not swayed. Yes, his father's skills were unmatched, but a party that large is sure to raise suspicion. If the monster knights find out about the visitors... He didn't finish his thought. And they are just girls. We need to protect them until we can get them back to where they came from. I agree completely, said Olivia. And you will accompany the children the whole way, Olivia? Asked the queen. Yes, I will. Olivia's chin tilted up as she waited for their final decision. The king sat in silence for minutes on end, leaning forward in his throne, and Mash's muscles ached with the effort of trying to stay so still. I will trust your judgment, but no one else can know. We do not want another war to start from this. That is all, Olivia. Grazie, your majesties. Olivia thanked them as she bowed and exited the room, and Nautica and Mash mirrored her again. The mermaid, the hybrid, and the landwalker traveled across the lake, staying near the surface in an effort to avoid meeting curious merpeople. Landwalkers traveling underwater with mermaids was not uncommon, but Olivia said that she did not want to take any chances or answer any questions. Olivia surfaced, and Nautica gave the sphere one last push. The bubble bobbed up and down in the rippling water. They were floating in front of a small waterfall. Olivia tipped her head. There's a cave on the other side of the waterfall. You can climb up the side and slip in. And you will be pleased to know, Mash, that the very cave you will sleep in tonight was where the visitors entered Flowerantha. Are you kidding me? Mash exclaimed in disbelief as he pushed his way out of the sparkle sphere and scrambled onto the shore. He stood up and reached his arm through the falling water into the emptiness of the cave. Thank you, he said. Olivia nodded and splashed back into the water. Nautica put her arms up as she prepared to dive. You're leaving too? His eyes were wide and pleading. She hesitated. No, I do not have to go yet. Go check out your magical cave, she said sarcastically. I will wait here. Let me know how it is. Mash beamed and lodged one bare foot beside the waterfall. He stuck his arm in again, then his other arm, then hoisted his body up. It's dark, he called through the noisy water. Through the din, he heard Nautica say, Get used to it, Landwalker. Are you afraid of the dark? Of course not. Mash waved his hand through the water. I think I'll be all right. Bye, Nautica. See you in the morning, Mash. He heard a splash, and he was alone. Mash ran his hand along the cool stone walls. It smelled a little musty, but not too unpleasant. The water drowned out any other sound from the outside. Mash was separated from the rest of the world by that wall of water. The whole of Flowerantha could burn to the ground. A herd of monster knights could be at war just on the other side. Seasons could change, which never happened in Flowerantha, and Mash wouldn't have known. The endless pounding of the water and the trapped feeling prevented him from falling asleep at first. He lived in a treehouse without a door. He was not used to being this enclosed. To avoid the spray from the water, Mash lay on his side at the back of the shallow cave. He bent his elbow under his head to use as a makeshift pillow. In his mind, he wished he had a blanket, but he was careful not to say it out loud, for fear of what mangled mess might appear. Eventually, the rhythmic sound lulled him into slumber. When Olivia called his name the next morning, Mash peeked his head out of the side of the waterfall, holding his hand in front of his face to guard it from the spray and the brilliant sunlight. His eyes squinted, and his hair was disheveled. Is it time to go? Yes. I'll be right out. I will meet you on land. She swam to shore and hoisted herself up over some rocks. Mash jumped into the water and paddled to where Olivia was seated on land. While she filled him in on the plan, Mash patted the water with his hand. Where is Nautica? Nautica is in school. You will have to relay the plan to her later, if you would like her to join you, said Olivia. Mash nodded. I would. Remember, the king and queen do not want to create chaos, or worse, a war, if they do not have to. They are still wary after the last visitor, so discretion is of the utmost importance. Mash nodded again. Believe me, I have no one to tell. After you eat something, I will take you to meet Bushraw. He should not be far yet. Mash squinted one of his eyes from the sun and picked a piece of grass. Do you have only 3 wishes, too? Olivia tilted her head and frowned. No, mine are still unlimited as far as I can tell. Then can you wish for breakfast? Olivia let out a throaty chuckle. Of course. Mash and Olivia ate on the bank while Mash questioned Olivia on everything she knew about the amaranth. Just as they finished eating, Nautica popped up in front of them. I heard the plan. I would like to go too. You may accompany Mash. We will stay close to the water as much as we can. We will have to separate when we go through the woods on our way to meet Bushraw, but we can reconnect with you on the other side. Olivia paused and redirected her attention at the water. No, not now. What is it? Asked Mash. I'm needed on official business. This journey will have to wait. Mash shook his head. It can't wait. Nautica and I can go. Just tell me the way. Olivia hesitated. I will join you as soon as I can, or I will find someone else to meet up with you if I cannot. Hurry to Bushraw's home so that you can travel the rest of the way together. He will teach you how to defend yourself and protect the visiting girls. He is younger than you, but you must listen to him. He will be a good guide. I must go. Good luck, Mash and Nautica. I will be there as soon as I can. That's the end of chapter 3.